possible that the Dodgers might be willing to move. And I thought, well, why shouldn't I meet Walter O'Malley? Why shouldn't we talk about it?
And Walter O'Malley brushes her off, essentially saying, look, kid, I'm trying to make something work here in New York. Go away.
I was mad, but I wasn't totally discouraged. And I thought, well, I'll look around, see who else might be interested.
So while Walter O'Malley was negotiating with Robert Moses in New York, Wyman and LA County Supervisor Kenneth Hahn began courting another decidedly less accomplished franchise.
They thought they could get Calvin Griffith, the owner of the Washington Senators, to move his team out to LA.
The lowly Senators, however, were not the Dodgers, who in 1956 won their 6th pennant in a decade, and once again met the Yankees in the World Series.
The stage is set. Yanks versus Dodgers, their 7th meeting in 15 years.
But what happened on the diamond in Game 1 turned out to be a mere backdrop to the history-changing episode that took place in the stands.
Walter O'Malley is sitting in his box, and he looks down and he sees Calvin Griffith, the president and the owner of the Washington Senators, the lowly Washington Senators, talking to Kenneth Hahn. And he's got a problem. What are these guys talking about? Where am I in this? He calls over an usher and he writes on a napkin, don't do anything until you've spoken to me. Has the usher bring it down to Kenneth Hahn. Hahn looks at this thing, closes it, and the World Series unfolds.
2 days after the Dodgers lost another 7-game World Series to the Yankees, O'Malley was in LA meeting face-to-face with Kenneth Hahn.
O'Malley said, I'm getting very frustrated with the folks back in New York. I'm thinking about moving out to Los Angeles. But O'Malley told my dad, if you say anything about this, I'm going to have to deny it because they'll kill me in Brooklyn.
He would have only been the latest casualty to befall the borough. Whether through downsizing by its biggest employer or the death of its last newspaper, Brooklyn was losing much more than residents to the burbs. It was beginning to lose its soul.
When the Eagle closed, Brooklyn became a borough without a center, without a rallying center.
There were no more trolley cars. 56, the trolley cars went out. Coney Island started to fall apart. Life changed.
The magic was gone.
And then, in another cruel turn, the man who had defined Brooklyn's golden era in baseball disappeared too.
They never alerted him that they were thinking about trading him. Then Buzzy just calls and says, you've been traded to the hated giants of all people.
Waller hated Jackie's guts, and vice versa. Jackie could never say enough nice things about Mr. Rickey. And all the years he's with the Dodgers, he kept it up, and he had a right to. It was Mr. Rickey who brought him to the big leagues.
And toward the end of his career, Robinson was more than just outspoken in his praise of Mr. Rickey. The man muzzled for his first few years in baseball had become, in the parlance of the times, a loud raceman.
The civil rights movement was beginning to heat up, and he was getting very involved in that.
If we look at what is happening today, America, I believe, is going to survive by what happens to the 20 millions of Negro people here in this country.
Jackie was very controversial in the press, and the story is that Mr. O'Malley said, he's just too strong. He's too outspoken.
So after the '56 season, with Robinson's skills declining on the field, O'Malley gave the order, and Robinson was shipped across town.
He felt like he was traded like an old used car.
Of all the indignities that Jackie suffered, he handled well. And he handled this one well. I didn't handle it too well.
In fact, Jack Roosevelt Robinson, the man who stole home 19 times during his career, saved one surprise dash home for the end. Having preemptively agreed to a management job with the coffee company Chock-full of Nuts, Robinson retired rather than accept the trade to the rival Giants.
What's the real reason you're giving up baseball?
Well, because I'm 38 and I don't think that my future is too bright in baseball. And I'm not going to stick around and be a fellow that's kicked around from pillar to post.
The release from it, that he was going to retire, was so welcomed. But it was the first hint that these people could do things that were quite capable of breaking your heart.
The first hint of many soon to follow.
But even with this going on, it was unthinkable that it would ever happen. We heard it, but it couldn't happen. It just could not happen.
When the '57 season came about, and again, they were playing games in Jersey City, and the solution of a new ballpark hadn't materialized yet, then it became a little more evident that, hey, this could possibly happen.
The players knew about what the fans knew. We weren't brought into the loop.
We didn't see much of O'Malley anymore. He didn't come to the ballpark at all, and they said he was in L.A.
In fact, he was, looking for the Southern Californian equivalent of Atlantic and Flatbush Avenues.
My dad is a county supervisor. He arranges for O'Malley to ride in a sheriff's helicopter. They go up in one of those old whirly-birds with the bubble canopy, and they fly around Los Angeles.
And they fly over Chavez Ravine. And O'Malley, the engineer, goes, there. A stadium could go there.
Sandwiched by multiple freeways and close to downtown LA, the spot was ideal for a ballpark. And it had sat vacant for years, which is why county officials were happy to immediately offer O'Malley 350 acres of it, free of charge, on which he'd be able to build his very own stadium.
There's no way he could have turned it down. Imagine somebody giving you 352 acres in downtown New York.
O'Malley had struck gold, but he had one giant obstacle to overcome if he planned to stake his claim.
O'Malley's problem, and he has a problem, is that he can't go to California by himself. He can't have the St. Louis Cardinals as the closest team thousands of miles away from him. He needs somebody else.
He knew that Horace Stoneham was up against it at Polo Grounds in New York. Stoneham was up against it much worse than O'Malley. At least the Dodgers were making money.
While the Dodgers were still profitable, the Giants were dead last in attendance, and their owner, Horace Stoneham, had been considering moving the team to Minneapolis, until Walter O'Malley showed up with a golden proposal.
Stoneham has 1 foot out the door. He's gone. And so for O'Malley to say, Horace, go further west, it doesn't require a lot. And so it's all lined up for O'Malley.
Do you feel now that there's a good chance that your club is going to stay here in New York?
Gabe, honestly, I haven't the vaguest idea at this moment. We know that we have a fine proposition from Los Angeles, a sincere one that under ordinary circumstances we would be quick to accept.
The 1957 season was Walter O'Malley at his most mendacious, at his most unreadable.
We haven't made a commitment as such to anybody at any place.
There was a possibility that we could be a bargaining tool for him to get what he might want out of New York. I kept thinking every day, every single day, the deal in New York would be made.
But no matter how much he flirted with the folks out west, O'Malley still couldn't get Robert Moses to relent and let him build in downtown Brooklyn.
We are not going to Flushing Meadows. He said, we're the Brooklyn Dodgers. Whether we move 3,000 miles or 30 miles, we will not be the Brooklyn Dodgers.
What do you think of the idea of the Dodgers moving to Los Angeles?
I don't like the idea.
How about the Dodgers moving to Queens?
I don't like that idea either.
Well, where would you rather see them if you had to choose between the two?
I'd rather see them right here in Brooklyn.
Hey, did you hear the news about what's happening in Brooklyn? We really got the blues about what's happening in Brooklyn. It ain't official yet. We hope official it don't get.
The Dodger fans will always be there to support the ball club.
You think they're a pretty good bunch of fans?
There's no question about it. They'll support them to the very end.
But for the pawns in O'Malley's game, that wouldn't be the case. With no local newspaper to rally support and no end to the rumors of a possible move, fans in the borough of Hope finally began to give theirs up.
Summer of '57, we realized that it was a foregone conclusion. It wasn't going to change.
O'Malley and his lackeys were very skillful in, how do they say it in warfare, preparing the ground. This thing dribbled out and leaked out and seeped out. It was so gradual that it dissipated the anger.
And remember, it was another thing too. That fan base was not all living together. They were spread out. They were not in one place where they could gather and share their common despair.
By the time the Dodgers played their last game at Ebbets Field in late September, callous indifference had set in. A 67-year run was ending, and only 6,200 people showed up to see the final act.
You realize there weren't many fans there? Hardly any fans there. But we stayed out to say bye to them, and boy, there were more people crying than you could shake a stick at. Why did they do it? If you've ever been in love and you have a spat with one you really care about, and they disappoint you, you say, go on, I don't want to see you anymore. Go, we're done with you.
But make no mistake, when it became official in a press release on October 8, 1957, it was the shot heard round the world all over again for Dodger fans. This time, though, there'd be no solace in waiting till next year.
It happened.
It's the first time you realize that something that you thought could never go is gone, and it's gone forever.
There were no more Dodgers. There was no more nothing. People tried to explain it's business, this, that, and the other. When you're 8 years old, you don't give a damn about business. You give a damn about where's Duke.